Welcome to Get Better Basketball Live. I'm Coach DeMarco, and today my guest is Coach Tyler Bardo, head basketball coach at Central Mountain High School in Pennsylvania. Coach Bardo is joining me for the second time, and the last time we got together, he shared with me options that teams can use out of wide pin downs and how he effectively uses wide pin downs with his team. Today, Coach Bardo is going to take it one step further, and he's going to talk about wide pin down options when the ball gets into the pinch post. You're not going to want to miss this episode because a lot of college, professional, and high school teams are using the actions that Coach Bardo is going to talk about today, and he's going to share with us video clips from his team and also some of the professional teams using this action. Before we jump into it, make sure you hit that like button down below, turn on your notifications, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more great video breakdowns each and every week. Another Get Better Basketball Live is up now. Coach DeMarco here with Get Better Basketball Live, and today joining me once again is Coach Bardo, head basketball coach at Central Mountain High School in Pennsylvania. Coach, it's nice to see you again.
Hey, it's great to be back. Love sharing the game. Love chopping it up with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Last time we had an opportunity to talk about wide pin downs and the options off of it, and you shared a ton of great clips. And I know the coaches out there that had a chance to watch it on YouTube really enjoyed the video and the video breakdown. So today we're going to kind of piggyback off of that, and we're going to talk about the pinch post and getting the ball into the pinch post, and then wide pin down actions that you can use off of that, among a couple of other things as well. But I wanted to ask you as we get started here, if you could just talk a little bit about the pinch post and, specifically what are the advantages to running actions, out of getting the ball into that area on the court.
Right. For us, it's another layer of offense. For us,
Coach DeMarco here with Get Better Basketball Live, and today my guest is Coach Bardo, head basketball coach at Central Mountain High School in Pennsylvania. Coach, thanks for joining me again.
Absolutely. It's great to be back. Love chopping it up with you.
The last time we got together, we talked about using wide pin downs, and you did a great job breaking down how you use that with your team. And I know the coaches that got to check it out on YouTube really love the video breakdown you shared. Today, we're going to take it a step further, and we're going to get into the pinch post and using wide pin downs off of that action. So I want to first start by asking, what is the pinch post? For coaches out there who watch this that might not fully understand, I know it's a popular concept in the triangle offense, but a lot of professional college and high school teams are using it to initiate actions. And what are the advantages when you get the ball into the pinch post?
For us, it's just an added layer of offense, and it's a way for us to continue to use and implement our wide pin down so that we don't have to deviate too much. Again, a high school program, you want to try and simplify as much as you can for these guys who may not be as serious a hooper as a college player, or of course, a professional player. So for us, it's about being able to simplify, but at the same time, being able to add layers. What we find is, first and foremost, it keeps us from forgetting that we have a post player. As Steph Curry and the rest of the NBA is just changing the game with the perimeter shots. But understanding that utilizing that post and what's happening is post players, they have to be better passers. They have to be better at reading those things. And you're seeing that with LeBron James, a lot of mid-post touches. Marc Gasol, certainly the Joker right now, right, is kind of setting the world on fire with triple doubles, all from, his assists coming out of the post. So what we've done at the high school level with this is we've kind of found ways to make this interchangeable and where our post position can be played by guards who do make passes and maybe are a little bit more fluent with the ball in their hands to do that. Advantages to it are that you're really creating a lot of chaos for the defense. They have to, in a tight space, in a vacuum of space, They have to really communicate very well. They have to make split-second decisions, particularly that post player defending the post. They have to make the decision, okay, am I going to back off and let an easy jumper, potentially let a stronger player blow by me, or do I help off and go to, the cutter coming off of this, and you're almost playing percentages, right? If we can get a tight curl off of that, as you'll see here in a couple of clips, do you give us the layup? Probably not. But if you don't give us the layup, you give us an opportunity to attack as well from that high post position. So a lot of different things that you can get off of that, and just running screens and cuts around that basketball.
Watching March Madness this year, I thought, Loyola Chicago had a special run once again. And they did a really nice job. Their post player did a great job passing, and they ran a lot of Chicago action, staggered Chicago, some Princeton concepts. But he's a great example, I think, of having that post type player that can pass. And as you said, you can also put guards or other skill type players in that position. So what are some of the teams out there? I know I mentioned Loyola Chicago as a team that, had some great actions out of getting the ball into that high post elbow area. What are some of the other teams that are using this action effectively? I know you're doing it at the high school level, but who are some teams to watch for at the college or professional level?
I mean, at the professional level, I would say just watch for anybody, right? It's become such a part of it with your pistol sets and things of that nature, where we can get the basketball inside to those high posts. You basically look at any, what we would deem as a more traditional post player, and Anthony Davis with LA, certainly a Marc Gasol now with LA as well. And you're actually going to see some clips here soon with Marc Gasol running this pinch post action with the Lakers earlier this season. But it's become such a thing, such a staple in the NBA to be able to run some of these things. And then you'll see, once that touch comes, all the action going on around them, whether it's weak side action, strong side action, or what have you, depending on where they go ahead and split the post. Collegiately, I think it kind of depends on your coach. What is your team? What is your program really built around? As you mentioned, Loyola Chicago, who we don't get to see a lot until tournament time. So if they don't have those runs, we hardly get to see those. But I think that there's some teams out there in the collegiate level that definitely look for it. However, I think they're a little more pick and roll heavy, and you kind of got to get through those with a fine-tooth comb to find them at times. But Memphis would probably be one. Kentucky, those teams that are maybe a little bit more well-versed in the NBA game, or maybe bring some of that to the college game from the staff that they hold, to implement. So it's everywhere in the NBA game. It's growing in the collegiate game as well, for sure.
I know we talked a little bit about this, but just before we jump into the clips, I wanted to ask, what makes it, as a coach that also might have to defend this action in games, what makes this so tough when teams are getting the ball into the pinch post? And also really, the use of wide pin downs. I know we talked about that in the last episode when we got together, but those are two actions that I feel like can give teams a lot of different fits. And then you kind of put the two together to some degree. And I envision that's pretty tough to defend.
It can be. Again, the level of communication has to be at an all-time high. And the thing is, you can defend it maybe once, maybe even twice, but are you going to do it a third time as that ball continues to get moved, get reversed? And you're going to see in these clips that there really is an answer for everything, or a solution for every problem that the defense could give you. And it's about drilling it into your offensive players to be patient and be explosive and make the reads that they need to make, and understand that you might make a wrong read, but the other guy may have made a correct read or what have you. And there's solutions all over the floor with this, especially when you're talking about, again, getting it into a tight space and just that vacuum on the floor.
Love that terminology. There's a solution for every problem that the defense can give to you, and that's a really great way to put it. And what I'm excited about today is that you're a high school coach, and this is something that translates at the high school level, college level, the professional level. It's something that can be used at all levels. And you're actually going to take us through how you use it, but share some clips of it being used at the professional level as well. And I think that's going to be really helpful I think for coaches to see that there are things that are done, across all levels that can really be effective. So I'm excited. Let's jump right into this.
All right, so now we're here looking at the wide pin downs in a pinch post action. So as a quick review from the previous episode that we had done, all the reads remain the same with one exception. Our straight flash cut, where we're coming off of that, and our defender of the cutter tries to fight through the chest of the screener, which was a straight flash or a flash call. Now he's just going to do what we are going to term as a long curl and chase the DHO from that post player who now has the basketball. That concept of one to the rim, one to the ball, still intact here. You're going to see that in nearly every clip. Maybe not perfection, but you're going to see that emphasis is being made. And that is something that is really big when you're talking about the pinch post action and just wide pin downs in general. But with the pinch post action, again, you have a lot of players, as you can see in the diagram there. You see that triangle, as you had referenced earlier, where how do you respace the floor after that action happens? And one to the rim, one to the ball is really big in making sure that gets taken care of. Anytime the player goes to the ball, we want that player to be chasing a DHO with that. And that's just a way to add yet another element to our offense, which would be something similar to a ball screen. The only exception there would be our flare or fade read. Of course, if that defender goes underneath on that screen, we flare, we fade for the potential 3-point shot out of that as well, which you will see that happen in one of these clips. And then again, that could result in a pick and roll or a DHO as well, and that you will see in one of the clips as well. Coach's preference of what you want in your weak side action. You can get a pin down, you can get a hammer. You're going to see both of those in some of the clips that we have. You could even potentially throw in an opposite slot cut, although I think that sometimes murkies the water a little bit at the high school level in understanding how to respace that floor. So pinch post, again, I stress that we maintain one to the rim, one to the basketball. Quick review of our reads here coming off of the wide pin downs around the pinch post touch is the defender. The things that you see in white here are the ways that the defender can navigate the screen. So you have the chase, where he's coming up and literally doing just that. He's going to chase behind that cutter, which immediately turns into a tight curl. Screener's going to come back and chase the dribble handoff. If he fights through it, there's your straight flash, as we talked about, where he's now going to turn that to a long curl. Screener, of course, one to the ball, one to the rim. Of course, your defender can deny you, try to take that away. You're going to see that work out here in one of the clips with the LA Lakers that I have coming up. Turns into a backdoor, a nice little slip screen, and the screener goes back and chases the dribble handoff again. And of course, then you go under, where you could chase the DHO with that, or send the screener to the rim from that as well, which is where you're going to see actually Sabrina Ionesco hit that game-winning shot for the New York Liberty there on opening night coming up. As we get into this, you're going to notice on the floor, when you look at spacing, is where's that triangle? Again, Coach, you referenced that it was primarily set in that triangle offense, and then all of a sudden it started to derive into other various forms of offensive basketball. But what you're always going to see is you're going to see that triangle created from those players that are running this pinch post action. You're going to see it in clips from my high school players. You're going to see it in clips from our professional players as well. A couple of these bullet points are just honestly preferences for me. There's exceptions to every rule. The high post touch here, we try to get what we would call or term a low split. So if I hit the ball to the high post area at the elbow, let's say, or maybe more towards top of the key, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set a wide pin down slot to corner to be able to come off of that traditional wide pin down. If I get the ball to that post player in the low post, traditionally I'd like to go set a high split, which is more of a slot to slot, or potentially what you might term as a hammer screen, depending on where the post entry came from. So if the post entry comes from the corner, he may set a hammer screen up. You'll see a lot of those with Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. That's where his corner threes, really generate from. Mid post or extended high post touch really comes down to preference. I think it comes down to where you get the touch, where you get the catch. You'll see a lot of that with some of my guys here. Post player must maintain as a threat to score, must turn, face, be able to hit that shot, be able to also hit or drive to the rim and score. And you see there, I make sure that we always want to turn and face as best we can. Here we have our clip from the LA Lakers, our first clip from the LA Lakers. It's a high post touch to Marcus Saul, who's right now is right here. Dennis Schroeder's going to go set a wide pin down for KCP. It looks a little bit jumbled up, but what I really want you to pay attention to is when they notice the read and how the defenders, this is the Boston Celtics they're playing. So, traditionally a very good defensive team. Marcus Smart is one of the defenders that is involved in this pinch post action. So, given that he is, a caliber of defender of all NBA, it goes to show how deadly this really can be if you can run it correctly. And I note there in orange there, note the patience and the explosiveness of the cuts between Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Dennis Schroeder here. So you're going to get that high post touch. Here's a little bit jumbled, and they're starting to make that read. They're listening to the communication of the defense here as we go. And right about here, they notice that. You see the separation and the easy. That's an easy pass for a Marcus Saul. That's an easy pass for a high school player to make, truly. When you look at the separation, you see Marcus Smart takes this stance here with that pin down. You'll see Caldwell-Pope gives that read step, something that we had talked about in the first episode. He gives that hard punch step toward the ball just to see what the read is going to be. How are they going to defend? And then when he does read that it's going to be a switch, Marcus Smart obviously in very poor position. I think what sets this one apart is you're going to see the way that Schroeder pops back to the basketball, again, that one to the rim, one to the ball mentality. And again, simple basketball just made really, really, effective by three guys here.
Coach, we talked a little bit about this in the first episode where we focused on wide pin downs, but those two players, one to the rim and then one going to the ball, so inside, outside, who determines, as a reminder, that read? You have your screener and then you have your other player. So the player who's using the screen is reading, right, and he can really determine which way to go. But correct. I guess my question to kind of go with that is who determines it, but also how do you get those players to gel in that situation where they're both not going to the same spot? Because obviously that could throw off the timing, or that could throw off the option to be open in that situation.
Absolutely. And it happens more often at the high school level, I think, when we're trying to do this, probably because we don't have the practice time. We don't have all the time to rep it out. And the practice time that we do have, we have a handful of things at least that we want to get through. As you said, the cutter is the one to determine where he's going. And going back to the first episode, the screener's job is to stay and work for that player to be able to have him make the best read. If right here, if Schroeder pops or comes back and chases that DHO too soon, then Marcus Smart and the other defender there don't have to switch or really communicate anything at all. And in fact, if he pops back too soon from that screen, Marcus Smart's blowing that up, that chase of the DHO right up. So it's really the cutter who needs to make that read and live with that read, because it might be wrong. Certainly at the high school level, we deal with wrong reads all the time, but we play through them. And at that point, then it's got to be, of course, you encourage the communication of, that's where I have my guys saying, okay, I'm going tight, or I'm going long, or chase, whatever it might be, basically calling their cut to let the screener know, okay, I have to go to the rim here, or I have to go back to the ball.
Yeah, for that, that's one thing I really resonated with me the first time we talked, was that stay and work piece for the screeners. And I think that's a good reminder for coaches who either haven't watched the first episode, but I think they'll go back now and take a look at it because there's a lot of great information there on using screens and using wide pin downs, or for the coaches who did watch it and just a nice reminder on how that works between the two players.
For sure. So as we come to the next one, this is actually the same game here. It's actually the same quarter. It's actually maybe 2 or 3 possessions later. Something I wish my high school players would understand, like, man, we just cooked them on this. Let's get back to that, right? So they come back. This time it's Schroeder, it's Gasol, but this time it's Wesley Matthews working in that triangle piece, in that pinch post action between the trio of players. Here again, you're going to get the high post touch with Gasol. Schroeder is going to go and set more of a traditional wide pin down for Matthews. Matthews takes a great deal of time coming off of that. Is one of the things I said back in the first episode was no race to space. That's not what this is about. This isn't about the person who gets there the quickest. It's about making the correct read and being explosive when you make that read. And you're going to see Matthews here, who has the ball currently on this play. And he's going to push that basketball up. And I'm going to stop it right here at a big, big piece. You see, we get the ball in right here. You can see the ankles on ankles. That's one of the footwork things that we talked about in the first episode, is being able to go ankles on ankles, screen the bottom half if possible to really get that tight curl. When you do that, the screener's defender really has to stay with that cutter, even if they're not switching for a split second. Just to ensure that we don't give up a 99% opportunity at a layup. So when you see that footwork for Wesley Matthews right here, it's really, really good. You see Schroeder stay and work once again, and now you're going to see Schroeder pop. Gasol, I think, was just based on his footwork there, was thinking tight curl, was thinking he was going to get a layup out of that. So the pass isn't great. Schroeder there, pops. And now Gasol, though, said, okay, it wasn't the perfect play. We didn't hit on that action, but we're going to go down. We're going to chase that with a little ball screen. Schroeder's able to come off to a little nail jump shot right there. And just another variation. You see the spacing here to begin with is a little bit better. KCP was more or less at the logo coming out of the mid post. Maybe he hadn't quite gotten to his spot yet. And, Schroeder gives it up there. Again, the spacing. This is a spot, coach, where we're going to, in practice, work a 3-on-3 quarter court. So we're going to split, of course, at half court line, but then we're going to go rim to rim and split right down the middle of the floor and force our players to work in this small vacuum of space to, 1, be able to respace, and 2, be able to play within these tight spaces and make efficient, effective offensive plays. Again, we see it here. We come off of that, and you see Smart was there, but look at Schroeder's defender. He has to stay, and he's actually in contact right now. Smart chasing over the top is not in a great position to switch, though they do here. And it leaves just a little bit of space for Schroeder to be able to say, okay, I'm going to come off of here, and I'm going to chase this. There you see the switch. And now you're putting Marcus Smart into a second consecutive action where he has to fight through a screen. And that makes it really, really difficult, even for the best defenders. And I think Marcus Smart's one of the best defenders probably in the NBA today. Again, we'll finish that clip. You see Dennis Schroeder with a little just inside the nail jump shot there. Our last one here is this is probably the most recent. This one was opening night, I believe, for Sabrina Ionescu and the New York Liberty on their game winner here. We're tied 87-87. Now, this is actually out of an ATO, and they make this call. You're going to see right here this little screen. What this is actually going to do is not only put 44 here in the corner, but it's also going to free up our post player here to make a catch just outside the 3-point line at the slot to really get this action going. So there's our catch. Now, Sabrina's going to come down here to set this wide pin down, but really it's kind of a hammer type of screen where you're going to see this corner. They're more or less going to exchange. Our corner is going to turn around and actually set a wide pin down. So it's kind of a flip hammer type of set here. But Sabrina's going to chase the DHO, and she's going to hit that 3-point shot to send it and here she comes right back. I mean, there's a lot to be said for ability to make a shot of that kind. Let's not get it twisted. But shot making ability is a skill. It's one of those prerequisite skills. So we'll play through this again here. So there again, there's our screen. We get our inbound play. You see that triangle formed already between the three. There's your quick flip, and she immediately is coming back, chasing that dribble handoff. A great action there. She didn't even take the dribble, in fact. So you see those actions between high-level players and, at the highest level of basketball in the world, which is our professional levels here in the NBA and the WNBA.
Coach, as we take a look at those clips and the different reads that kind of go into it, what are the things that you do with your players to kind of help them, understand those reads and practice and drill those reads? Are there drills that you do? Are there small-sided games? What are some of the things that you like to do with your team to really help them understand how to work out of those actions?
Certainly at the most grassroots form of it, when we get our junior high guys up for the first time, we're actually currently doing that right now in our spring workouts. We're literally going to go 1-on-0. We're going to put a chair out there. We're going to break down the 4 potential reads and the 4 potential solutions to those problems that they give us, whether it's the curl, the flash, the flare, or the backdoor cut. And then from that point, we really want them to understand those cuts, how to come off of those cuts, as well as now we're going to build to a 2-on-0. So that screener, we get that sense of 1 to the rim, 1 to the ball. You see through those first couple of clips how big that really, really is. Then, of course, we'll work into the pinch post. This is probably the third progression for us. We spend a lot of time drilling the 1-on-0, the 2-on-0, and then we'll build to a 2-on-2 before that. And then we'll build into a 3-on-3 quarter court, which is my favorite drill. My players hate it because they just want to be able to run around and do all these things, right? But it's really about understanding what space is on the floor to occupy, understanding that, for a split second, it doesn't have to be perfect spacing, but it's what derives from those actions that determine our efficiency. When we got to this point in our season this year, to the point of where we're really going to start to build in on this pinch post and make it a priority and make it just another element that it's automatic. When we drop that ball inside, we've got this action happening. Our points per game from the first 12 went from about 50 to 52 to 60. So it went almost a plus 10 points per game just by adding this element, not really adding anything different conceptually in terms of the pin downs and the reads, but adding just that added element to what the defense has to navigate through.
I like how you build on that progressively, Coach, especially at the younger level. That's, just 1-on-0 and just teaching them the different reads and then pairing the 2 players together. I think that gives coaches a good idea of what they need to work through. And really, I even think at the higher levels, just starting out and during workouts and stuff and having players work together. If you're going to use actions like this, I think, I know I did it with dribble drive, somewhat just the 2-man, 3-man stuff and, working and then adding in different reads, and then you kind of get into the SSGs. So I think that's a great example of how to effectively teach this for coaches. As we now transition, we've seen the professional level, and now you're going to take us through some clips of your team using this action, which I'm excited to see.
Yes.
And go.
So now we're looking at our pinch post action. You see here, I have it labeled as high-low splits. Again, even at the high school level, you're going to see us working that triangle and understanding how to navigate that space in that vacuum on the strong side of the floor. You're going to see us enter the basketball to the high post primarily. We don't get a lot of low post entries in these particular clips. But you're going to see some high splits. You're going to see some low splits. You're going to see some tight curls that take us right to the rim for some easy layups. You're also going to see some high splits turning into long curls for 3-point shots. You're going to see a lot of different variances of how this action can work for an offense. So here we're just bringing the basketball up the floor. Already you can begin to see this triangle begun. Now, for certain teams, this team in particular was a couple years ago for us. We needed to make a call. We needed to call out, I want a high split, I want a low split, something to help our players who maybe weren't 100% basketball oriented, or maybe we didn't have high IQs. We had to call things a little bit more, which is totally fine. Puts a little more added pressure on the coaching staff to be able to see those things, but the players execute this one very well. This is a called high split. You see here where we get that catch. It's just one of those things that we teach our guys all the time. Step to it. We want to throw the pass, throw the player open with the pass. So you saw that pass was not a bad pass. He actually put it right where we wanted to. Going back to the PowerPoint, one of the things I said was when we enter to the high post, we would traditionally like to go with a low split, which would tell 22 that he needs to come down here and screen for 4. However, if you look at where that catch was made, he's going to go across here and screen slot to slot, which we would call a high split. Again, this was also a call. We wanted to see this. This is how we opened the game in this particular night. And there again, you'll see we screen the bottom half. We want to really force him to be able to get downhill, play a little 5-on-4 for a second. And you're going to see, look at the attention. Now we get this wide open layup, but look at the attention given. Look at what happens if that ball isn't made, if that pass isn't thrown. We have a wide open 3 or a closeout to attack. So you're seeing multiple opportunities. But a great layup, a great way to open a game for sure. It makes you feel pretty good. Here again, we get another entry, same spot on the floor, but this time we go low, and we end up turning this to a long curl to a DHO, which is going to be coming off, hitting for a 3. And you're able to see that. Now I'll run that back just a second here. Again, one of the things that you see here, the cutter's defender kind of falls asleep a little bit, so we don't really worry about getting our ankles on ankles here. As I said, once you've drilled this enough, players are going to get a feel. They won't be so robotic through it, and they'll understand where they can, I don't want to say cut corners, but where they can be more effective without some of those things. As we said, every rule has an exception. And so you'll see here, they're chasing this right away. This is a no-brainer, and you see right here is actually the cutter's defender behind the post player's defender. So we really get to do a great job here, and this is probably the same game, probably the 3rd or 4th possession where we hit them with it right away. Here we get a high split with a flare or a fade, depending on your terminology. We enter the ball there. You see, we really love that spot, and this is still first quarter of that same game. I thought it was important to be able to show that the team could have seen this same pass, this same action. Here's this pinch post action again, but it's the 3rd different look in the quarter that we're getting out of it. And you'll see this one, as you know, Coach, I don't show, there's the bottom half. He's coming way under. I don't show all the pretty stuff. I just want to show the opportunities that we're creating to score with the action. Maybe if this player is a little bit more confident, I'd like him to pull this shot. This year, he certainly would have pulled that shot without question. But you'll see here, we still get a closeout for him to attack, and we end up getting the ball knocked away here from a little tap from behind. But you can see the action that was created from that. I'll go back to that again. We get that same action for the 3rd time against this team, and we're still getting a great opportunity, great look. He had just hit a 3, so I was kind of curious. I think I remembered myself on the bench saying, why not go for another one? But he elected to go for the attack, which is something else that we work on. So here we have this, and you can see this is our, certainly our better player right over here in the corner. You can see the way that they're already taking him away. What I love about this and what works for him here is he doesn't just lose composure. He understands that I need to be explosive. I don't need to be the first one there. I need to be explosive off of that read. And he really does a great job to wait as you're watching that player that's highlighted. You see, he's still trying. He's got that guy thinking, I'm coming up off of this. And this guy's defending it like Marcus Smart. If you go back to the LA Laker clip, this is the exact same way that they defended it. They took that guy away. This is essentially Kentavious Caldwell-Pope looking to come off of that screen. He completely turns and says, that's not going to happen. and we're able to get a beautiful backdoor cut right here. Again, don't finish the layup, but you can see where that action is helping us out a great deal. Here again, we hit that pass, and again, you see it's not refined to that post. This is still a pinch post action. There's no doubt about it. The reason why we're catching so far from the immediate high post, which is that elbow area, which is probably the most notable when you talk high post. That's probably one of the first things we think about. It's because we teach the skill of throw him open. It creates naturally more space. Again, when you're talking about that triangle, what are ways that you can work in a small space but create as much of it as possible? And that pass and that entry is a big way that we do that. As we come down here, you'll see again, we tried to screen that bottom half. They try to jump it here. This is actually our traditional post player. Player with the basketball now is not, but we have a hybrid post here who can go out, attack off the bounce, hit a 3-point shot, and he does a nice job to curl down in here and hit a beautiful jumper off the pass late in that game. Here again, we're looking to get the basketball out. You can see that triangle begin to form right now on both sides, actually. So if you look here, this is actually a weak side action, but we elect to go with a pin down on the weak side. So it kind of creates, when you catch the ball middle of the floor, it creates maybe a dual split post action, if you will. It gives that passer, and we're playing to our strength here. So the guy with the basketball in the post was our starting quarterback. So he's trained to make reads. And so we want to make sure that we put him in a position to be successful too. And you can see this is our strong side over here. This action on the weak side is already happening. You see, we chase the long curl. Now we want one to the ball, one to the rim. Our screener's not perfect. He goes to the ball in a pop on this one. Nobody to the rim. But what a great read. This defender doesn't really come out, so he doesn't go to the rim. That was what this player is reading right here. And our quarterback right there makes a great read and is able to hit a wide open 3-point shot. And again, we don't hit, but you can see the opportunity for us to score the basketball there. As we're coming here, again, kind of get that dual pinch post action right here, as the weak side has already begun immediately on that pass. And you're going to see a great read on the overplay right here. This is my guy from previously that was really having himself a game in that one series. He reads the overplay on the switch. And that's the other thing too, is how does this work if you go against a switch defense, right? Well, switching defenses can be, at least in our experience, in our league especially, teams that switch, such as this team that we're playing here on the clip, very, very aggressive. So how do you take advantage of that? And here we just hit them with coming off of that with a tight curl, and we're able to get the basketball down inside. Here again, we hit. Now this is more of our hybrid group this year, where we were interchangeable in the post 1 through 5. And my top 2 guards were also my top 2 post players in terms of finishing at the rim. That's just the way that it worked out for them. I think my point guard actually finished at 56% shooting from 2-point range, predominantly because he was able to get some post ups and work that pinch post action and the actions off of it. Here you're going to see another high split, a nice long curl right here. Where he comes and drills that 3. Now I'm going to go back to that one and show just the footwork right here. As we're coming down, you can see 22 really working to get that bottom half. He does a great job to stay and work. And our player immediately sees that. Remember, if he goes under or if he's below that screen, even though we're trying to get there, it's going to be a chase of a DHO. Jack makes a beautiful read right here. We come up and of course, when the shot goes in, it makes everything look pretty. Here I have it, and I'll go back here real quick. I have this shown so that we can see what is happening, and I'll run that back so I can stop it there. I want you to see what's happening right here. We have the rare low post pinch post here. And the pass doesn't come from two of the players that are involved in the screens in that triangle. One of the players is actually on his way down to set a screen. He is the one that's in that lens right there. Pinch post action here, you'll see the defender's head is turned and they're starting to look to come down and double on us. When they do this, we make a great read here. We actually get two to the ball, as you see right there. My post player, not a traditional post, although he's 6'5", very, very slender, able to make a great pass out here to this player. You get them scrambling. This player right here, his defender is now responsible for both the cutter and the screener because they had sent to the post. So when you see a double team, it's really important to help guys understand, number one, communicate that the double is coming. If that happens, one thing that we always talk about is typically a double in the post is going to come from the passer's defender, whoever makes that pass. So we really try to train our guys to call that out, double coming, or maybe, dig, depending on what our terminology is or how the guys are feeling to communicate it. We get this immediate kick out, and it forces, at this very moment, we have created the advantage. At this very moment, we have to feel very good on the sideline about the fact that we're going to get a good opportunity to score the basketball here. And you'll see this kick out. This defender that's flying at him is, in fact, his defender. He's got to make that. But remember, right here is the guy that went to double. He was the screener's defender. So now he's got a long way to go. We get a quick swing over to the corner for a nice corner three. And, Coach, that's going to wrap up our clips there of our.
So, Coach, I asked you to bring it back to this clip because one of the things I've recognized in all the clips I've been watching, but I think this one really illustrates the point, is the spacing. And in particular, the spacing on the weak side. And as I watched this clip, I was looking at those two players, defenders in the paint, that are defending the weak side. And they're kind of those help defenders, and they're kind of in limbo, right? They're trying to get into position to kind of shrink the floor, take away the paint. But then you have two players there that it can easily be a kick out from that pinch post or high post now player, out to one of them. So I think you guys do such a nice job of spacing. And I just, hoping you could talk a little bit about that. And in particular with this play, because that backdoor cut, if you don't have good spacing on the weak side, if those players are inside the arc, it's going to really help the defenders to take away that backdoor cut. They're going to get there in time, and they just miss getting there, but your spacing is so good. And I think that's something that we're hearing more about in today's game, but I don't know if it's valued as much as it should be. And I just think you guys do a nice job here.
Well, I mean, we certainly appreciate it. It's something we communicate a lot about. We want to force the five defenders to cover as much of that half court as they possibly can. Just increases our ability to score from anywhere on the floor, whether it be a catch and shoot or a dribble drive. And you're absolutely right with where these guys are. Now, they're not loaded up, and loaded up for me would be middle of the paint +1. That's not the way that they elect to play it. However, they also have to make that decision, as you just mentioned. If I'm loaded up, I'm leaving a big closeout for myself to either give up a 3-point shot, or I'm going to be in a really bad spot with two really good attacking players over here on this weak side. So as this comes, of course, our eyes go to what's happening on the strong side. I'm actually a little bit disappointed because my weak side guys don't move here. They're watching that action. Again, this is a play that we're running at 0-0. And it's not, I shouldn't call it a play. As you know, I'm very conceptual. It's just a concept that we're going, but this is a call. We knew right out of the gate, we wanted to come out. I think this was about 5 seconds into the game, and we wanted to come out and we wanted to get a split of our post is how we determine. We don't really use pinch post as much rather than splits. But you're seeing here, we don't get that. But as you said, yeah, we don't also get sucked in on the offensive end by okay, this is a strong side action. I'm going to creep towards the action because everybody wants to be a part of it. They're doing 50% of their job right here. One half of their job is to stay spaced as they are. The other half of their job would have been to give me some sort, even if it's an exchange on the weak side, because why would we go all the way down here to set that screen? We're just clogging it up for this action. So we wouldn't do that. But even to give an exchange, force these guys to keep their attention over here, or at least not completely on the strong side action as much as possible. That being said, you can actually see right here, as this cut comes, number 24, his defender actually creeps more towards 24 right here in the event that that's a ball fake and we get the ball out here. He can get a jump start on that, because this isn't poorly defended. There's a lot to be said for the pass that this young man makes here as well on that. This is not terribly defended. I would say this is better offense than defense in this situation, very simply. Up until, of course, the finish, we would certainly want to come away with 2 on that. But the spacing is something that we talk about. And now you look at 22, who sets that screen, understands, okay, backdoor cut is what he read. So he goes backdoor. He's not following it. He's respacing that. So if we do, let's say we get a little touch pass kick out, we get a swing, we have a wide open 3 back to the original screener right here. And here you see them converge. And if he doesn't have such a great look at a layup, he's got an easy kick out to a good, strong corner 3 shooter there as well, who, with both of these weak side defenders back to him, have no opportunity to stop. So again, more opportunities created, but as you said, absolutely because of our weak side spacing.
Yeah, and I noticed in the NBA clips, I was going to bring it up, but I was curious as we went through, because I know we had talked a little bit about your weak side exchanges in the past. So let's wait and talk about this a little bit later and what you guys do really well. And I know you mentioned you didn't do it in this particular clip, but I'd love to take another look at one of the weak side actions, because I feel like when I watch the NBA clips, and obviously NBA teams have weak side actions and hammer actions, all kinds of stuff, but they didn't do it in those particular clips. They kind of stood in space, which I think there's a time and place for. But I like that you guys really utilize your weak side actions, and I thought you do a really nice job getting into that, the high split, I think, as you would probably refer to it, versus the high pinch post. But getting it into that area and then using weak side actions to provide scoring opportunities.
Right. So I've queued it back up to a clip that we had seen that where already the box here around 22, he's the weak side, and he knows that action's coming. Again, this is a team where we made these calls a lot of times. Our progression in this offense, quite honestly, Coach, has been a couple years where it was a different type of offense whenever I had taken over, albeit successful. It wasn't my vision. So we've really grown and tried to layer some of these and with caution and with trying not to overload our high school players. So here you see it again. Number 4 right here is a strong side action. He's the one who made the pass that got this whole thing rolling. But you see our weak side here is coming, and he's going to chase the long curl right here to the basketball, and it kind of becomes that strong side. So again, what I think I called it or termed as a dual pinch post action right here. You got it on both sides, allows your post player to kind of play what he sees here. And you see this defender, the screener's defender, really held tight. They're doing a great job here defensively of protecting the rim. They're not giving him an opportunity to drive. You see even they're chasing this DHO over the top here. And we have another guy chasing the DHO on the weaks or on the strong side. See, they're flipping it on me right there in the middle of the clip. So he's coming and he's chasing this. So there's a lot that's happening here and converging, but the read is very simple. 1 to the rim, 1 to the ball. Well, the rim isn't there because of the way they defend it. So he's able to open himself up. And here you see enough space for a good 3-point shooter. And as I said, those wide pin downs, we don't just say we want those wide pin downs to create threes. We want those wide pin downs to generate closeouts as well. because not every player, certainly at the scholastic level as well, is a comfortable 3-point shooter. And so they have other abilities, and we want to create long closeouts and hard closeouts from the defense that we can then attack. This just so happens to be a pretty good 3-point shooter who takes a good shot for us.
Coach, great actions and obviously great reads by your team. And as I said, great spacing too. And I think you gave us some really nice look at professional teams, but also how these actions are effective for your team. So I feel like there's something out there for coaches at different levels. And I wanted to ask you, within your offense, which I know is conceptual, what's the breakdown of getting the ball into this pinch post or the high post type area for your team versus not initiating actions out of that? How much or how critical is this to your offense?
Extremely. It again, it allows us to, and we're historically a program that does not produce your traditional back to the bucket players in the post. Being able to run these, and this year, for example, we had to mandate, because we just weren't there yet with a lot of our guys. We played a lot of guys that were playing varsity for their first time this season, and COVID of all things. They weren't, and we weren't comfortable going out there and saying, hey, you guys need to make these reads. And honestly, we did do that for the first handful of games, and that's where we saw our numbers, really low. And then what we did was we mandated tight curls, and we took advantage then of some guard mismatches. As I said previously, my two best guards were probably my two best post players in terms of scoring presence inside. So being able to utilize these pin downs in this pinch post action allowed us to take advantage of some matchups within our guard play to be able to generate some offense throughout the post, as well as helping to understand that some really good things when you get the ball to, what Kobe always termed as his kill zones, into those high post areas, short corner areas, or of course, middle of the paint, you really cause a defense to contract, and in one way or another. And that's where we really want to harp on those solutions to be able to come off of those pin downs. And it does change a little bit with that pinch post action, but just with that pinch post action, look at the elements that you saw it derived from that. You saw a ball screen, pinch post kicks out to maybe a flare or a fade, or maybe a screener that pops, and he chases his pass and goes and sets a ball screen. We were able to get a numerous dribble handoffs that resulted not only in 3-point shots, but also, as you saw with the Lakers clip, just a nail pull-up jumper, and still able to get shots in the paint from that. So a complete other element to the offense, just from a simple post touch and building off of what we had done in the first episode, which was just our simple pass, screen away, wide pin down actions.
I have to ask, for coaches who are watching these clips out there, I know a lot of coaches are going to have a chance to see this video, and I think I know the answer to this question, but I want to ask for coaches watching, which is, are those high post players that are catching and sort of the initiating the action, are they just passers, or are there other things that you're able to get out of them? So I think we have the same answer here, but I want to ask, because coaches will see this, and I think I want them to be able to visualize what that role can really look like within an offense.
They're not just passers. I know that's what the clips had shown, but really, when I had started to construct these clips in this video altogether in this presentation, it was with the idea wrapped around the wide pin downs and then the split post or the pinch post and the split actions as a derivative of that. And so, that's what you saw there. But I can tell you that we had quite a few, and you'll see a lot of times where that long curl will come for that dribble handoff, and that screener will go to the rim. Well, golly, what do you attack whenever you get a double gap? Typically, you get a cutter coming off of that, and you attack a double gap to do that. Our guys that are holding there are, okay, I'm going to see that DHO. Well, if he overplays, or if I don't like my read, or if my guy, really gets out into a hard show or a hard hedge, I'm turning the corner and I'm going to attack. They are attackers. They are guys. I try to play a few more guys. I try to get as much out of them. So, one of our post players that you saw there, not as fleet of foot, great shooter. Good form for a big at 6'4", probably 220 or so at the time. And, obviously great passers as well, certainly. The other was, he's a Division I athlete right now at Seton Hall as a pitcher. And his whole thing was he just attacks downhill. And so putting him at that pinch post, if that guy steps one step out of the way at about 6'4", 195, big boy, he's driving one dribble to the rim from that space, whether he's just outside the three or at the high post. So certainly not just passers, even though that's what the clips showed. There's definitely more reads and more actions that come off of this for sure.
And I believe we saw some of those other options for that play when we took a look at some of the clips in the last time that we had recorded. There were some clips where you actually showed that player doing more than just being a passer. And I knew that, and I agree with you on that. Just as coaches watching, I want them to process what that role can look like. And, I see a really talented scorer in that position, and they can pass, but they also can score on their own, or, having a shooter where if that player starts sagging off of them to try to their defender to get back a little bit and take away the passes, or they can pop a three. And so there's just different ways I feel like that role can really be used. And we focused in on the wide pin downs today, but I think the wheels are probably spinning from coaches as they watch us. Is some simple concepts, and every role on the court you can really maximize in different ways. And I think you spoke to a lot of that today.
Yes, you're probably from that position the three guys to watch, and I know I don't want to deter coaches from going out there and trying to utilize some of these things or find ways to toy and see if they'll implement to their offenses. But the three guys are probably LeBron James, primarily in playoff time. He seems to go more into the mid post and into that pinch post spot. Nikola Jokic, of course, and Joseph Nurkic of the Portland Trailblazers. Those three guys get a lot of these touches and have a lot of these split post actions, pinch post actions run off of them. And of course, Jokic is a step behind Russ in triple doubles. I feel like, just from this spot in a big. Again, we don't all have NBA caliber players at the big. I understand that. But you definitely can find things, within your skill sets of players.
As I said when we started, it's great to see a concept that is very effective at the high school level, obviously at the college level, and then at the professional level, because I think a lot of things do translate across all levels. And you did a really nice job today breaking down how it can be effective at all levels, some very specific examples on the strong side, the weak side, different players on the court. But, I think also just really breaking down the reads for coaches. And I know you also did a great job in that first video that we recorded on wide pin downs. I do encourage coaches to check that out as well. I'll put a link in this video and a link down below so coaches can take a look at that original video. If coaches do want to reach out to you with follow-up questions, I'm sure this is going to spark their interest. How can they connect with you?
They can connect with me via Twitter at tbardo. That's TABARDO and the number 5. And that's probably the simplest way. Send me a direct message and we can link up that way. I know I've spoke with several coaches already after the wide pin down video, and certainly am looking to share more as we derive into the pinch post action here.
Well, thanks, Coach. So that's tbardo5, and that's at, on Twitter. And I know that I'm fortunate to have connected with you on Twitter. We have a lot of great conversations. Absolutely. And appreciate you sharing with me once again here today, and hoping we can do this again in the future.
For sure.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you, and have a great night.
I appreciate it. You as well.